I didn't lose my family all at once. I lost them in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That's how long the phone call lasted. That's all it took, for my parents to erase me. My name is Irene Willett. I'm 32 years old. 5 years ago, my sister told my parents that I had dropped out of medical school. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't confusion. It was a lie. A carefully placed, perfectly timed, devastating lie. And somehow, that lie was enough. My parents didn't ask questions. They didn't wait for my explanation. They didn't even hesitate. They cut me off. They blocked my number. They ignored my emails. They returned my letters unopened. They didn't come to my residency graduation. They weren't at my wedding. For 5 years. I didn't exist. Not as a daughter. Not as family. Not even as a memory they were willing to acknowledge. And then, last month, my sister was rushed into the emergency room. Bleeding. Unconscious. Dying. The trauma team paged the chief surgeon. The doors opened. And when my mother saw the name stitched across the white coat walking toward her daughter's stretcher, she grabbed my father's arm so tightly it left bruises. Before I take you there. Before everything came crashing down. Let me take you back. Fall, 2019. Hartford, Connecticut. A small kitchen table under a dim yellow light. The last time my father ever looked at me, with pride. Growing up, there were 2 daughters in our house. But only one of us truly existed. My sister Monica is 3 years older than me. She was the kind of person people notice the second she walks into a room. Confident. Charismatic. Effortless. She didn't just speak, she performed. Every story had an audience. Every moment had a spotlight. School plays. Student council. Social events. Monica didn't just participate in life, she dominated it. And my parents loved her for it. My father ran a manufacturing plant. My mother worked part-time as a bookkeeper. They weren't cruel people. They weren't abusive. But they believed in 2 things above everything else. Appearances. And obedience. And Monica gave them both. Perfectly. I didn't. I was quiet. The kind of quiet that disappears into the background. The kind that doesn't interrupt, doesn't demand, doesn't shine. While Monica entertained guests at the dinner table, I sat in the corner with a biology textbook. While she told stories, I memorized diagrams. I wasn't difficult. I wasn't rebellious. I just wasn't seen. There's a difference between being ignored and never being noticed in the first place. And I learned that difference early. 8th grade. I made it to the state science fair. The only student from my entire school. It should have been a big moment. It should have mattered. But that same weekend, Monica had a theater performance. So my parents made a choice. And it wasn't me. I remember coming home with my ribbon. 2nd place. I stood in the doorway, holding it like it meant something. My dad glanced up for half a second. That's nice, Irene. That was it. He didn't ask what my project was. He didn't ask how I felt. He didn't ask anything. That was the moment I understood something. If I wanted to matter, I would have to earn it in a way they couldn't ignore. So I stopped trying to be noticed. And I started trying to be undeniable. I poured everything into school. Grades. Advanced classes. Late nights. Early mornings. I worked harder than anyone I knew. Not because I loved it, but because I needed it. I needed something to make me visible. And for one brief, shining moment, it worked. The day I got accepted into medical school. Oregon Health and Science University. Everything changed. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. I remember exactly where I was standing when I opened it. My hands were shaking. Not because I doubted myself, but because I knew what it meant. This wasn't just acceptance. This was proof. My father read the letter at the kitchen table. Slowly. Carefully. Like he didn't quite believe it. Oregon Health and Science, he repeated. Then he looked at me. Really looked at me. And said, maybe you'll make something of yourself after all. It wasn't warmth. It wasn't love. But it was something. And for the first time in my life, I felt seen. That night, my mother called everyone. Her sister. Neighbors. Family friends. Irene got into medical school. Her voice carried something I had never heard before. Pride. Not polite pride. Not performative pride. Real pride. I remember sitting at the dinner table. Looking across at Monica. She was smiling. But something about it felt off. It didn't reach her eyes. At the time, I ignored it. I told myself I was imagining things. I wanted to believe this moment meant something for both of us. I didn't realize that for Monica, this wasn't my moment. It was a threat. Because for the first time in our lives, the spotlight wasn't on her. That's when things started to shift. She began calling me more often. Checking in. Asking questions. Details about my classes. My schedule. My friends. She remembered everything. Every name. Every story. I thought she cared. I thought she was finally seeing me as an equal. I was wrong. I wasn't building a relationship. I was giving her everything she needed to destroy me. By my third year of medical school, my world changed again. Her name was Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. She wasn't just my roommate. She was my anchor. Sarah had grown up in foster care. No family. No safety net. But she had more strength than anyone I had ever met. When I broke down during exams, she held me together. When I doubted myself, she reminded me who I was. Then one day, she got diagnosed. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Everything else stopped mattering. I took a leave of absence. Official. Approved. Documented. I became her caregiver. Hospital visits. Chemotherapy. Sleepless nights. I watched someone I loved slowly fade. And for some reason, I called Monica. Maybe I still believed that somewhere underneath everything, she was still my sister. She sounded concerned. Soft. Supportive. Don't worry, she said. I won't tell Mom and Dad. They'll just worry. 3 days later, she called them. And whatever she said, it worked. The call came late at night. My father's voice was cold. Controlled. Final. Your sister told us everything. I tried to explain. He didn't listen. My mother cried. Not for me, but for the version of me she believed existed. How could you lie to us, she said. I begged them to hear me. I told them about the leave. The paperwork. The hospital. My father cut me off. Don't call this house again until you're ready to tell the truth. Then silence. 4 minutes. 12 seconds. That's how long it took. To lose everything. 20 minutes after that call, my phone buzzed again. A message from Monica. I'm sorry. I had to tell them. There was a broken heart emoji at the end. I remember staring at it for a long time. Not crying. Not reacting. Just staring. Because something inside me had gone very, very still. I tried to fix it. I need you to understand that. I didn't just accept it and move on like some movie character who suddenly becomes strong overnight. I fought for them. For 5 straight days. I fought. I called 14 times. The first few calls rang out. Then they went to voicemail. Then I was blocked. I sent emails, long, detailed ones. I attached the official leave of absence papers. The dean's contact information. Proof. Evidence. Everything. No response. I wrote a letter. Handwritten. Mailed it with priority shipping like urgency could somehow force love to respond. 5 days later, it came back. Unopened. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. That was the moment it ended. Not the phone call. Not just hard. Relentlessly. I studied when I was exhausted. I pushed when I wanted to quit. I buried every ounce of pain into becoming better. Stronger. Unstoppable. And slowly, I became someone else. 5 years passed. I graduated. Alone. I completed my residency. Alone. I built a life. Not the one I had imagined as a child. But one I was proud of. I got married. His name is Nathan. He didn't try to fix me. He didn't ask me to move on. He just stood beside me. Quiet. Steady. The kind of presence that doesn't demand anything, but gives everything. We had a small wedding. Simple. Beautiful. There was one empty space I felt more than the others. But I didn't let it break me. Not anymore. I became the chief of trauma surgery. 32 years old. People said it was rare. Fast. Impressive. But they didn't see what it cost. Because success doesn't erase absence. It just makes the silence louder sometimes. There's a kind of emptiness that never fully disappears. It sits somewhere behind your ribs. Quiet. Patient. Waiting. And then, 5 years later, everything came back. 3:07 a.m. My pager went off. Level 1 trauma. Severe internal bleeding. Female. Mid-30s. I walked into the hospital like I had 100 times before. Focused. Controlled. Detached. I picked up the chart. And saw the name. Monica Willette. For a second. Everything stopped. The noise. The movement. The rhythm of the hospital. All of it faded. 5 years collapsed into one moment. The girl who erased me was now lying on a table, bleeding out. And I was the one holding her life in my hands. I won't lie to you. For a moment, I hesitated. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I did. I knew exactly what saving her meant. What facing them meant. What reopening that door meant. But then something else took over. Something stronger than anger. Stronger than pain. Training. Duty. I wasn't her sister in that room. I was her surgeon. Prep for surgery, I said. And just like that, I stepped into the role I had built my entire life for. 3 hours. 40 minutes. That's how long it took. Her spleen was ruptured. Severe internal bleeding. Complications that could have taken her life in minutes. But my hands didn't shake. My focus didn't break. Because this wasn't about the past. This was about the person in front of me. And when it was over, she was alive. I removed my gloves. Washed my hands. Looked at my reflection. Same face. Different life. Then I walked to the waiting room. They were there. My parents. 5 years. 5 years since I had seen them. My father stood first. Like always. "Doctor, how is she?" Then his eyes dropped to my badge. And everything changed. He looked at my name. Then at my face. Then back again. Recognition hit him slowly. And then all at once. My mother grabbed his arm. Tight. Desperate. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Thick. 5 years of silence. Compressed into seconds. I spoke. Calm. Measured. Professional. "Mr. and Mrs. Willett. I'm Dr. Willett. Not Mom. Not Dad. Just truth." Their expressions broke. Confusion. Shock. Realization. "You're a doctor?" my father said. "I am." "You did the surgery?" "Yes." My mother's voice trembled. We thought you dropped out?" I finished. She nodded. I held her gaze. Steady. "That wasn't true." Silence again. But different this time. Not empty. Cracking. "I tried to tell you," I said. 14 calls. Emails. A letter. My mother's face collapsed. "We didn't," she whispered. "I know. And I did. That was the hardest part. They didn't know. Because they never tried to." My father sat down slowly. Like the weight of 5 years had finally landed. "What have we done?" he murmured. For the first time in my life. He didn't have answers. Just regret. And here's the part people expect to be dramatic. Anger. Screaming. Revenge. But there wasn't any of that. Because anger burns out eventually. And all that's left is clarity. "I'm not the same person you remember," I said quietly. "I built a life without you." They listened. Really listened. For the first time. "If you want to be part of it now." I paused. "It will be on my terms. No shouting. No tears. Just truth." My father nodded. Small. Broken. And for once. That was enough. Monica recovered. Slowly. The first time she saw me after surgery. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. "Irene," she whispered. I didn't let her explain. "Not now," I said. Because healing doesn't start with excuses. It starts with truth. Weeks later. We met. Neutral ground. A quiet place. She looked smaller. Not physically. But emotionally. For the first time in her life. There was no performance. "Why?" I asked. And this time. She answered honestly. "Because you were becoming everything I wasn't." No manipulation. No deflection. Just truth. It didn't fix anything. But it mattered. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know," I replied. And I did. But sorry doesn't erase years. It doesn't rebuild trust. That takes time, I said. And for once. She didn't argue. My parents started showing up. Not perfectly. Not consistently at first. But they tried. And trying is where rebuilding begins. One morning. They came to my house. My father stood in the kitchen. Awkward. Uncertain. "Can I help?" he asked. It was such a simple question. But it meant everything. I looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time in years. I saw something different. Not authority. Not expectation. Humility. You can set the table, I said. He nodded. Carefully. He took out 4 plates. 4. I noticed that. He counted us. For the first time in 5 years. He counted me. And somehow, that meant more than anything else. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't complete. But it was real. And real is where healing lives. I didn't get revenge. I didn't need to. Because I became someone who didn't need it. And that was more powerful than anything I could have taken from them. If there's one thing I learned through all of this, it's this. The truth doesn't disappear. It waits. Patient. Unshaken. And when it finally arrives, it changes everything. My name is Dr. Irene Willett. I'm 32 years old. And after 5 years of silence, I am finally learning how to be someone's daughter again.